Roundtable, absolutely dynamic, female and otherwise, just not just because she's a female, but leader in our state, business leader. Incredible business acumen, super smart. I was really excited when she became our state superintendent, and I was very excited yesterday to hear that she has another 3 years on her contract. I think that a lot of the stuff that has happened in Hawaii in the last number of years is a direct result of her leadership, and there's been lots and lots of movement in our state around educational outcomes, and for me, personally, specifically around Native Hawaiian educational outcomes, that is near and dear to my heart. There's some new Board of Education policies that are coming out that I think are going to be absolutely phenomenal for Native Hawaiians in our state, and then of course for all children in our state, because when our host community thrives, all of our state will thrive. So I'm really excited to have Kathy here, and please welcome our state superintendent.
Thanks so much for inviting me to be here today. I remember last year, it was exciting. It was so exciting to see so many actually old friends, make some new friends, and realize that there are so many people in this state who support public schools. So I did want to go back a little bit and repeat something I said last year because it's very grounding for me. And for those of you who maybe we haven't met yet, give you a little bit of where I come from. And I told all of you last year a story about what my grandfather taught my father and what my father taught me and what I have shared with my children. 3 priorities in life. The first one is your physical health. You need to be strong and healthy in order to do all of the things that you want to do to help others. The second thing is you always have to keep learning. Actively engage your mind. Every experience, whether it is a success, a failure, a challenge, there's something to learn. And if you always have that learning mindset, your life will be very, very rich. And the third thing was service. Service to your community. And I thought about it over the last year, and I started thinking, now, he didn't put family in there. And I thought, But then I realized it's because for our family, service is how you express the love you have for your family. That's what you do. You take care of the community takes care of the families, and the world is a better place for it. That's where I come from. That's my family history of public service. This kind of gathering, to me, epitomizes the work that we can all do together. So as I looked out, I also realized that some of the things that I've learned when I first came to the DOE, which is now a little over 4 years ago, is that I came with a fresh set of eyes to look at the department, and I realized how much our schools are a focus of the community. It's a challenge and a blessing. So when I look out at all of you, you say, well, the school should be helping kids learn about healthy lifestyles. Absolutely. They should be learning how important physical activity is. Absolutely. We should talk to them about making good choices, about drug use, about sexual activity, about making good life choices. We should offer them after-school programs so that they can be engaged even when their parents are working. That is really essential. We need to involve them in sports. We need to engage their families so there can be family literacy. We need to do so much to support our kids, and so much of that was focused around schools. So think about it from each of these school leaders' perspectives. There is so much that they want to do and provide for their students in all aspects of their students' lives. It's an awful lot to carry on your shoulders if you're a school leader. The wonderful thing about Hawaii is the community is here ready to help. They want to be involved in schools. It is such a blessing that people are all here saying, how can we work together to help schools? But even the offer of help can be overwhelming if you don't have a way to embrace that help if you have 20 different partners who want to help and you want all of them on your campus, how are you going to coordinate that? How are you going to get through the maze of requirements and regulations and paperwork to actually get to serving the students the way we all want to? And so we began to look out at our complex areas and realize that there are some who are really leaders in the area of community engagement. And let's learn from the work that they're doing. And they're represented here. Castle Redesign over on the windward side, Kauai, Keiki2 Careers, Nanakuli Waianae, the Big Island, Keauka Upahoa. They've been so many great leaders who have forged a path. And we found that nationwide, there are people like Kwesi who will come here to help us learn what other states, what other communities have been doing. But some of the things that we learned that I think run across the board. One is it's really important to convene schools and communities together before you make any plans, to understand what the needs of the community, the hopes, the dreams, the desires of the community, to use that as your grounding force, grounding point. The second then is this kind of gathering where we gather stakeholders to say, okay, now that we know what the needs are, now that we know what the hopes and desires of the community are for our students, what are we going to do about it? Because there have been way too many sessions where we talk and we dream, but we don't do. How are we going to get stakeholders together so we can create a plan together, so we have an action that comes to fruition that actually results in impact on students? And that's really, really important. And then the last thing I think really is about sort of the nuts and bolts of it, and I talked about it last year. Community convening takes resources. It's wonderful to have volunteers. You need them, but it takes structure and organization to make this kind of community engagement sustainable and lasting. And so that's the work that we've been trying to do over this past year, is put together sort of a binder of best practices and tools that people can use, because the work you're doing here is inspiring other schools and other complex areas to say, how can we engage our communities in this work so that we can have an impact on our students. And just a little last shout out to our Board of Education. I see Amy here. Because in our strategic plan is specific mention of the fact that students, the communities are crucial to the success of schools. Students are connected to their school and community to develop a love of learning and contribute to a vibrant civic life. That's a joint goal, a joint commitment that we would love to have your help on as we move forward, as we work together. So with that, I think I'm supposed to open up for questions. I'm not sure. Is that right, Kanoi? And so I'm happy to.
Yep, so we have 2 mics up here. We would love to engage the audience, right? We're about community engagement, engaging schools and communities, and so we want to, practice what we're preaching. And so if you have any questions for Superintendent Matayoshi, then we'd love for you to come. We have 2 mics over here. So don't all rush at once, because, buffalo herd. And then we also have 1 roaming mic. So does anybody have, like, you're embarrassed to walk in front of everybody and, does anybody have do you have some questions we have for as a captive audience? Questions. We'll give a couple of seconds for people to think about and figure out what kind of questions they might have.
Hello, I'm Representative Marijuana, and I'd like to know, when you had mentioned resources, if there's a round number figure for what you might need from the legislature to have this position.
I think this might be a Twitter moment. Let's not start with a number, let's start with the number of digits. No, I think one of the things when we talked about resources, and I think one of the lessons I learned in Cincinnati when we were there at the conference, is that the role of this coordinator at schools is really important. Having someone who can be the connector between the needs of the school, the right hand of the principal, to help make that connection is really important.